Welcome to the Dogs Made Easy podcast, your go to podcast for unlocking the secrets of dog sports, enrichment, and everything fun for your dog. Whether you're a seasoned handler or just starting your journey into the exciting world of canine activities, we bring you expert interviews, insightful tips, and inspiring stories to help you and your pup thrive. Let's jump in. Hello, everybody. Today, I'm Barb King. Well, I'm always Barb King, but today I'm talking to Shirley from WAGS, which is Canine Work and Games, one of my favorite organizations. They offer a variety of different sports, but let's start with Shirley. Who are you?
Somebody who never thought I would do something like this and be in charge of an organization.
Well, I'm glad you started.
Yeah. Somebody always in the background is my preferred place to be.
I can relate. Like I said before, I'm not quite sure why I'm the one doing these interviews, but I am enjoying talking to so many different people in the dog sports world.
Yeah. No, I was born and grew up in mid-Michigan, which is, surrounded by the Great Lakes and Ontario on two sides. So, not that far from Canada, just from your end of Canada.
Yeah. We're a ways away, but
yeah. Yeah.
So did you grow up with pets at all?
Yeah, when I was really young, I believe we had a dog. I vaguely remember. This is the only funny thing I do remember. Two things about this dog. I think his name was Spot. He never got to come in the house. One, I remember with my dad, they must have had milk bones for him, and my dad challenged me to eat one. So him and I each ate a milk bone one time. And one time, for some reason, the dog was tied to a lawnmower in the garage and ran out with towing the lawnmower. So that's my memory of having a dog when I was little. And then I had rabbits. Yeah. It's like I was probably 4 or 5. I was really little. I know that. But yeah, that's just never went away. But when I got mid-school, junior high stuff, we used to go to my uncle's who lived in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and he had Scotties, and I loved his dogs.
Oh.
And wanted one for a couple of years. In the summer, I'd go and sometimes spend a week or two with them. And so then I kept torturing my mother trying to get a dog, and she wasn't keen on the idea because she wasn't a fan. But eventually I got one when I was in high school and joined 4-H and did obedience and went to the fair. And, that was my first introduction to doing obedience. And so, and it was just a mixed breed, ugly, fuzzy mutt thing. Of course, now it's probably some poodle mix that would be worth a lot of money. But, she was a nice dog, though. And then, so when I got married, she went with us. She was pretty old then, but she went. And so we've always had at least one dog. At one time, we had 8 at one time, and that was too many, kind of. At night when they came in, I always had to count them. It's like, okay, here we are. We're all in. But
no doubt. I don't know how people do it. I'm like, 2 is max for me. I'm like, they keep me busy.
Yeah. And I was doing competitive stuff with a couple of them at that time, my Sheltie and my wire hair. But yeah, it was a short period. We had 8. We had 7 though for quite a while, because I always said we had 2 pair and 3 of a kind. We had 2 shepherds, 2 German wire hairs, a Sheltie, a lab, and a English setter, I think it was.
Wow.
So quite a variety. But yeah. No, my first dog was a Sheltie that I got for competition purposes. And then we got 5 puppies in 18 months. So until my husband was not allowed to go look at puppies anymore.
No doubt.
It's like, no, we're not getting another one. No.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
most of the listeners will disagree, because I know most of them have more dogs than me, but I don't know how people have the energy, honestly.
I know. It was okay when I had the one Sheltie. Well, we probably had 4 dogs then. But, and I went to class for a couple of years doing obedience, and it was like 45-minute, 50-minute drive. But, I was one of your favorite students, because I went every week. I practiced every week and was so enthused about it, and just really liked the training piece of it. Went to the first trial, which was AKC, and did not like that at all. The dog and I both said, this really isn't fun.
Oh.
Yeah. And rally was just getting started about that time. And so I went into that big time and really promoted it in my area.
Cool.
Association of Pet Dog Trainers, I believe, was the first organization that ever hosted or did titles in rally. And so in Michigan, we hosted trials, a group of people and myself. They had a training business, so they became the official host, but I really did the whole, set up and organized. So we did trials for quite a few years of APDT. And, I just liked the friendliness of it. You could talk to your dog and stuff, which was so different than obedience, formal obedience.
Yeah.
And there was another obedience venue that was trying to get started that was similar to APD philosophy, that you could talk to your dog, and I believe you could treat too after exercises, but they were so unorganized, or the person running it did not have dog experience that they had hired to be office person. And we spent 3 or 4 months trying to get a group approved for judges and advocates to do a test, and it was just a painful experience because nobody would get back to us. We'd wait a month, 6 weeks. And so finally somebody said to me, they go, well, why don't you just write your own? It's like, I don't think I can do that. They were big into AKC obedience, and they're now judges, and they might have been at the time, but I'm not sure they were actually judges then. But, they were top level competitors in AKC. And agility and stuff. So like 3 months later, I saw, it was a husband and wife. I saw them at a agility trial, and I took, because I knew they would be there, I took my notes and I said, okay, I've got a rough draft of this program for obedience. And they were pretty surprised, but it's like, hey, you said do it. So then they felt they had to help me put it together.
Perfect.
So it worked kind of well because I was more the laid back, let's be relaxed about this. And they were more of the AKC, let's, be precise.
Right.
I think we blended it pretty nicely. That one of the main things was that whatever we did wouldn't take away from training for AKC or other venues. We wanted to kind of fit in there. So I think that worked out. And then eventually, not long after we did the rally, I wasn't going to, because I didn't really want to compete against the APDT one. Right. But they're going, well, you already got this, you might as well add rally. And then we added games, and then we added scent. And we were one of the first, after the national scent one night, we were one of the first scent ones, I believe, out there.
Yeah, I think so. So what year did you actually start WAGS?
2007.
Cool.
So,
yeah. So
a few years now.
Yeah. And when you started, did you have any idea how far around the world you would go with it?
No. And, we have had trials in Japan.
Wow.
Did you know that?
No.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
There's a host in Illinois that the one lady goes to Japan a couple times a year, or she used to before COVID anyway.
Right.
And so she wanted to know if they could do trials there. So she goes over and judges them, and I let them title with the one judge.
Right.
And then she's responsible for everything in there. I send her certificates. She sends me money. I don't take Japanese money.
Yeah.
I'm not dealing with, it was hard enough to get their registrations because some came and written in Japanese with somebody written something above them. And, I never really could figure out which was the towns and the states or whatever they have there.
Yeah.
In their stuff. So it's like, I'm just mailing certificates to her. And she's in charge of whatever is going on. But
makes sense. Yeah. Well, that's good. So do you do any other training or anything now? Or are you just running your organization?
I'm mostly running it. I just am hard to be motivated to do that, unfortunately. I have a rat terrier that has a lot of titles, and we have competed in person, but a lot of what we're doing is video because he has dog issues. He was supposed to be, my last dog I got, my all around nice, perfect thing. Well, that really didn't work well, but I mean, it's only some dogs he has issues with, but it's closeness, so it's really hard to take him to venues I don't know exactly their layout. So there's some places I go and some I know I can't, but he's done scent, he's got level 3 obedience, and we've done Denise Fenzie's sports things.
Cool.
We've got the level 3 there too. And
I have to say, I totally love how many online options there are now, like including with your organization. Like it is so good, especially for those of us in, smaller towns and with reactive or semi-reactive dogs. Like it's so nice to still be able to play and title and get ribbons and
but even places that only have one judge, they worry about only having one. It's like, well, you can have your group of people do a video one and they'll have another judge, and then they come to you and title and get their ribbon and all of that.
Yeah.
So I try to remind people. There's a lot of uses for it.
So I guess as we talk about the organization, we should start from the beginning. So you sort of said why you decided to start it. So you started with obedience.
Correct.
So let's talk about the obedience. What exactly? What is obedience? Let's start with that. We have some people that are pretty new that listen.
There's a set of exercises for each level, and it's can you and your dog work together to complete these exercises. The judge helps you through it, tells you what to do each of the steps. Right. So, you just have to listen to the judge versus rally where you got to read it and figure it out yourself. But
I remember the first time I saw obedience. I've been doing agility for a few years because I do everything backwards. And I was like, what do you mean the judge tells me what to do? I have to stand here with my dog and wait for them to tell me.
I know. You see that people have done rally first and they're so used to just keep going.
Yeah.
And the judge says something and they just keep going. It's like, wait a minute. You got to wait for the next part.
Yes. And my dog does that too. Like Toby, my old border collie lab, we had so much trouble with obedience because she won't wait. She's like, we did it this way before. I'm doing this one. Now we're doing this. Now we're doing this. I'm like, no, you have to wait.
This is next.
Yes.
But I mean, and in the obedience program, you can give treats after exercises. Your treats have to be in a pocket. You can't have your bait bag or anything like that on yourself.
Right.
No, they can be in a vest pocket, which is what I usually do. I find it's a lot easier than trying to dig in a pants pocket unless you have something, really easy.
Yeah.
The video portion of the obedience program matches pretty much. A few of the exercises are a little bit different, but, not that much. And actually, people think the video one is so much easier, but I almost find it's a lot harder, other than the distractions and doing it live. But you've got to remember all your steps you've got to do, and try to do it all together at one time without screwing up somewhere in there. So, but.
Right. Yeah. So for titling in your organization, you need how many cues? How does that work?
So you need, because they always call them a leg when you qualify. So and most places have 3, but we chose 4 because we want our dog to be well balanced. So we went with 4. Some people initially used to give us a hard time about that, but we also don't require people start at level 1 in anything. Right. So if you skip the first level, if you've already got an experienced dog, right there, you've already aren't paying for 4 legs that, so you're equal. It's really not doing that much more. And the point is spend time with your dog. So not to rush through and just collect titles.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So you need them under 2 different judges.
Correct.
And like you had said earlier, for those areas like us that may only have 1 obedience judge, you could do some of your ruds online as well, so that you have the different judge. So that's really nice. Yeah.
Yep. In there.
So what's the sort of the big difference between your obedience compared to the more traditional AKC, CKC type?
You can talk to your dog while you're healing. You can talk to him during anything. The only thing you will get a deduction for extra cues, which the judge doesn't look at what you say. They're supposed to decide if you're saying something to get your dog to do something that he's not currently doing. You know, as long as your dog is doing what he's supposed to and the handler's running their mouth, it's really no issue. You know? So that's the defining point, because some places had words, you know, some words counted as an additional cue and some didn't. It's like, well, you know, and then there are people that speak German to their dog or different little, you know, cues in different languages. Who knows? So it's like, no, if your dog's doing it, whatever the handler is mumbling around, the judge don't care.
Cool.
So, yeah. And you get to treat after exercises, because there's very few obedience places that you can actually treat in the ring. I mean, you're not required to, but I think a lot of the traditional obedience ones, sometimes when they start having trouble in the ring, they come to us to compete because they get to treat, and their dog then goes, oh, not every time do I not get anything in the ring.
Right.
So, you know, some use it for that, I know, but and I think people are more supportive of each other in our venues. Even the obedience program, we have placements, but I still just feel they're more supportive. I've seen too much in the traditional ones. The people come out and they're so competitive and they're so anti against their dog sometimes.
Right.
I know one time I remember, this has stood for 15 years ago at least, if not more, at a trial, and it was, I think, a utility class, which is their top class, and it was a golden, and this guy came out of the ring with his dog. He lost a half a point in utility, and he set his dog down outside of the ring. He was really mad. He walked away, left his dog there because he was mad at him. And I wanted to go say, can I just take your dog home? I'd be like thrilled if I lost a half a point utility, you know? And it's just a lot of those people, you find that attitude in those that have competed all the time at that high level. And I don't know why, but that's just what I've kind of seen. So some of those people, honestly, I would assume they don't come play with us.
Right.
You know, I've had a couple of them that showed up for a little while, and it's like, nah.
Yeah. I'm more about it's a game, right? You're there to play with your dog and have fun. And yes, you can, like, beautiful obedience it's a thing of beauty. I love it. I don't have the patience for it, and I know that. We play at level 1 forever.
Yeah. And in WAGS you can do that.
Yeah.
You know? So
yeah, I love that because like, not all dogs are good at everything, but they all have their thing. And like with my dogs, they love the nose work. So we compete at all the levels in that, but the obedience, level 1 for the old girl who's just doesn't care. And the other boy, I should do more with him because he loves the rally and the obedience. But I don't like it much. So we do.
Yeah, it's just a time thing, and you know, to figure out what it is you want to focus on. You can only do so many things at a time. But
yes, and what I try and do is put my dogs in all the things and see what they like, and then we go with what they want to do, right? More. But yeah, there was a few things that I made sure I got, which I'll talk about later. Your Master Team Award, that was one that I was focused on getting.
Oh. So, I know I'm working on the level 3.
Oh, wow.
Right now, but I don't know if I'll ever get that far. I'll have to do a lot of video rally, I think, because there's none really offered around here. Not that level. They all do like 1 and 2.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So, But
you're in charge. You can just give yourself the certificate.
I know. And people hate when I send a video on it. Even when I show up at a trial, they're going, and then you want me to score you. I go, well, yeah.
You're like, I started this so I could play.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I want them to do it right, because sometimes they'll go, I go, why didn't you take points off on this? I go, that wasn't straight, or, oh, it was okay. I go, well, whatever.
That's all good. So obedience is the core of what you do, and then also rally obedience.
Correct. Then we started rally within a year after obedience started. Cool. So rally is the same. You can talk to your dog. You can treat in there. We have 3 that are typical rally classes. Okay. And then we have 3 that are of the Zoom classes. So there are no sits in there. There are halts in the advanced levels. There could be some stand. You leave your dog on a stand, walk around or something. But there are no sits or downs. So for older dogs that have issues with sits and downs, these are perfect classes for them. They are less time, but it's not that you're expected to be running through it. And there are plenty of time, really, for the size of course when you're not doing complex behaviors. So,
right. Yeah.
It's a lot of just turns and circles and weaves and different things like that in there.
Yeah, I really like the Zoom. Like with, again, my old girl, she's not great at waiting and focus and just being able to go and move. She's like, okay, I'll stay with you and we'll get her done.
Yeah, I know. Some dogs are a lot better with it, being able to sit and treat, and others are better if you can just move and don't have to stop during the time.
Yeah.
So, and then we have our ARF class, which is a rally obedience agility is kind of what it's for in freestyle. So it can have a tunnel in there. It can have a table, like an agility table in there. There can be a freestyle exercise where you have to pick your own exercises. I think it's 3 of them to perform. And you have it written down, give it to the judge so the judge knows what you intend to do. So you can't just go do 3 things off the top of your head and say, oh, that's what I meant to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's a really fun class. And there are a few groups that do that quite a bit.
Cool. Yeah, I've always wanted to do that, and nobody here wanted to do it with me. So I need to. My girl's over 15 now, so.
Well, that's really old.
Yeah, and honestly, she's still nuts. So I might have to pull it out this summer if she's still kicking.
Yeah.
I think she started in obedience when she was like 11. She'd calmed down enough that I could.
Yeah, I know some of those dogs. It's like, oh, wait a minute, now you're old. You're slow enough. We can do something.
Yes. But still, nose work makes her focus like nothing else.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. And we started with your nose work in probably, I don't know, 10 or 11 years ago.
Well, 2014. So, yeah, 10.
Okay. Yeah, already, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, so before we talk nose work, we'll go back to, so you've got the ARF, and then there's the games. Is that part of the ARF, or was that different?
That's a whole different category.
Okay.
And there are 4 games in there. And you have to have 2 different games to qualify. You have to have 4 passes, but you have to have at least 2 different games. So you can't just play one.
Right.
And then you get a game's title. It's not whatever the game name is. So there's blackjack, which is doing exercises in group of 21 points. So you have to do that 3 times. We call it getting a hand of 21. So, and exercises are assigned point numbers on the course. So you can look ahead of time. Hopefully everybody prints maps for this so you can actually look at it and write on it, because that's what I need. But you pick your group. I'm going to go do these exercises to get 21. And then we have a blackjack exercise that's designated, and it can be different things. But then, so you do your little group of 21 points, you go do the blackjack, go back and repeat that till you've done it 3 times. Cool. And as long as you do all your exercises correctly, you can still lose points for extra cues and stuff. But any deduction in games has to be at least 4 points. So your minor stuff is not counted. It's all, something major that you get 4 points for. So blackjack is pretty fun. I mean, some people like it and some don't. It's kind of like there's an agility game. I'm forgetting now what that was called.
Snooker?
Huh? Yeah, snooker. Now, see, when I did snooker with my Sheltie, my first dog, she was pretty slow, so we were never very fast, and snooker was our favorite because that was perfect for her because she stayed by me and went where I wanted her to go and did it. So,
my favorite too.
Snooker was similar to that. You had to pick and do different things in there, so I always liked that. Then we just have colors, which is like an agility game where they have 2 different courses. You pick one to do. So this is 2 rally courses on the same thing. And you can look at the course and you go out and you tell the judge which one you're going to do. So you do that course and there's only 10, 12 exercises. It's pretty short. Cool. So it's in and out. So the games are really good for old dogs too, because it's such a short course. And that's the game that's played the most, and it's called Colors. Pairs is for people that have 2 dogs, so they can run both of them at the same time doing a rally course. Cool. So people enjoy doing that have 2 dogs that, work together. It's not something we see very often, and there are more people doing games than used to be. It's been kind of a hard push, or I haven't really pushed it that hard, but they're fun and something different to do.
Yeah.
And team is for 2 people, each with their own dog.
Okay.
The dogs are one dog is always on leash. The level 1, both dogs are the whole time, but after that, in level 2, then one dog is always on leash, so you don't have 2 unleashed dogs together out there. So at least you only have to worry about one dog that might run around and do something.
Right.
And they can pick their own team to work with, or they can say, I don't have somebody. Is there somebody here that will, run with me? But that way you're not randomly assigned a person, especially, some dogs, have issues with others and whatever. So that's it's kind of like Colors. There's 2 parts of the course. One does one does the other. And when the first team runs the exercises, the other team is it's called an honor exercise where they have to stay and not change position while the other dog works. And then they switch and one stays and the other one runs their half of the course. Cool. And they both either pass or fail. It's not one gets to pass and the other doesn't. If one screws up, that's for both of them. So
cool.
Because if it didn't work that way, if one could pass and one not, it wouldn't really be teamwork,
Yeah.
So,
yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
So
then I need to look at them again.
Yeah. And then we have grab bag, which doesn't get used very much either, but it is kind of fun, but it's harder than you think. There are 6 different games in that. So that I should make sure. It's been a long time since I did this one. I just want to make sure I have the right exercises in here.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So level 1 has 6 different we call them challenges that you could do, and the judge picks the 3, and you've got to do 3. The judge will set up 3 exercises, and you don't know ahead of time. So it's not like the premium's going to say, grab bag is going to be these 3 things. So you can train and be really prepared. So you've got to know all of them. And then you show up and you see what they are. So one is take it there, which is just you bring an item that the dog can pick up and carry. And there's like a hula hoop or a marked area that the item is given to the dog, and the handler has to stay in a spot and send the dog into the other spot with it, you know. So, I mean, it's pretty easy, especially when they're on leash for level 1.
Right.
So the other is next one's verbal cue recognition. The handler is sitting in a chair, and the dog is out like 3 foot away, you know, in level 1 on leash. Right. And the handler will give the dog command, let's see. So you can do verbal cues. You have to only do verbal cues, and the judge is going to have like a sign that says sit, a sign that says down, and one that for come, front, and then a down. So when the judge says that, instead of the judge saying it and the handler, that's why they have a sign. So when it's a sit, the handler has to tell their dog to sit, and they can't do any hand cues, you know. It's like sit on your hands. And then down, and then front. So your dogs, they got to come in, sit in front of you while you're sitting. And then finish, they have to go around and then down beside you while you're in the chair.
That's funny, eh? It seems like, oh, that's so easy. My dog does all that. But if you can't use your hands, do they?
I know. So, yeah. And you can use multiple cues in the games, and you don't get penalized for multiple cues in most of them. Cool. Freestyles like it is in the rally, that you bring your exercises in and, you know, perform whatever exercises that you wanted to do. There's long way to front. And in level 1, I want to see how many, let's see. They have to do 7 different behaviors. So the handler leaves the dog on a stand stay. Well, I don't know if it has to be a stand, but leaves them on a stay and goes into like a ring or a marked area that's the handler's box. So on leash, it's only 3 feet away. And the handler has to instruct the dog for 7 different behaviors in there within, I think these are like 40 seconds. Yes, it's a 40-second thing. And each of them is 40 seconds. So there's not a lot of time to get these things done. And if the dog steps into the home plate area, was what we call where the handler's box is, then time ends at that point and how many exercises you've done. Oh, so you can always use front as your last exercise. The dog can come in, sit front, can count as your last one.
Right.
Because they've stepped in. But, you know, if they come in, so you've got it, so you can use back and, you know, as many times as you want, but you only get credit once for it. Right. You know, keep them up. So the off leash is a little easier because they're farther away. Here, 3 foot away is pretty hard to keep them. You know, if you're trying to do a spin and a sit and a wave or whatever things they do, or even a touch, to come touch your hand, but don't step in this. Also, the handlers are leaning way outside of the box, keeping their feet in. So it's pretty funny. You know, you can make it entertaining. I mean, that's the idea. It's supposed to just be fun and entertaining, and do that.
Yeah, they sound like a lot of fun.
There's healing with distractions and go touch. So this has different items set up everything's kind of set up like a baseball diamond, like 3 stops and a home thing, and sometimes a pitcher's in the center. Cool. And so there's some items that are distraction and some your dog is supposed to touch. So this one, the handler and the dog go around together, and they got to have the dog use their nose or foot or something and touch items. But the other items, they can't step within to go investigate what they are. So, cool. Yeah. And then there's a table and a round or in. So this they can, let's see, have like an agility table, which I believe is all set low now. It used to have different heights, but now we just leave it low. So you can send them to the table to sit her down, to circle a cone, or sit her down in a hoop or marked target area. So you've got to get them to go do those 3 things. So on leash, you're a lot closer to get them to do that, but then you get farther away as the levels go up harder to send them to do that. So there's a lot of fun things to do.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Oh, what can my dog do now? I need to look at this again when the snows go on.
I know. Yeah. Yeah, they're fun things to play with. I mean, it's just something to play with.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, the more things you can play with your dog, the better. Like, I like the variety, right? Like,
yep.
I mean, obedience is always good to have. And like I said, I started with agility first without having basic obedience on my dog. And I don't recommend it.
Yeah, it works okay sometimes.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
We had fun and we learned, and then we did obedience later.
Yeah, there's no reason you can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some directions are better for dogs than others, starting at one end of the thing or other. So, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all interesting. Okay, so that was our obedience. We talked rally. Was there anything we missed on rally that you wanted to discuss?
I don't think so. I mean, it's pretty much rally. That's cut your course, and go out, follow your signs, and do what the exercises are, and so.
And you can feed your dog and zoom and go fast if you want. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm like, I must go fast because as soon as I slow down, she's going somewhere else.
Yeah, we don't want to see that. No.
Yeah. And then the other, I think the other last sport that you offer is nose work.
That would be true. That's, of course, become the most popular thing. And a lot, I mean, there are tons. It's kind of like agility used to be back in the 1990s or whatever, that everybody chose agility over obedience because it was less training for the handler. Right. I mean, your dog would do it. Huh?
Kind of flashier, right?
Yeah, it was more, flashier. It was more on your dog's performance than the handlers, where obedience, half the time you fail is because of you.
Yeah.
I know I've been trying to work on a video obedience program for the Fenzi. And half the time it's me that goes, oh, crap, why did I just do that? On exercise 8 out of 10. And you go, you were doing okay. Now I screwed it. And I think Scent's the same way. Dogs take to it pretty naturally. A lot of them do. And the handlers honestly don't have to do that much. I mean, you can. Some of them, I mean, there are a lot of wonderful handlers that get into it and really know it. But there's also the people that probably like me that just kind of takes their dog and does it and, goes with what happens.
Yeah. Well, when you get to the higher levels, there's training required. But in the lower, not that much. Like, it's pretty instinctive for a lot of dogs.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people do a 6-week class and then enter a trial, and can be successful.
I've seen people, like one lady, she took like a 3-hour seminar with me, and then she's like, I'm entering the trial. I'm like, okay. And her dog did this, and she called alert, and she titled. I'm like, okay, you can read your dog. The dog has no idea. It's just instinctive.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's fun to do. I was skeptical at first when I was approached about putting it together. And I went, I don't know if that's something we really want to do or not. And, but the more I started watching it, it's like, this is pretty interesting to do that. But
yeah. I mean, for me, nose work is my favorite, mostly because I just love to just sit back and watch the dogs do their thing. And for the most part, people stay out of it and follow your dog. And, later on, you can get to be a good team and work together. But it just amazes me what they can do.
Yeah, I know. So we've got 3 different kind of divisions within the set. There's the detective program, which is more traditional, that you're searching through things. Most of them are indoors. Some people do them out, but I mean, really, I think the advanced ones should be outdoors as much as they can when the weather's nice, but
Yeah.
just to make a little more challenge in there and more things that you can look for and places for hides. But in the ranger program, the dog works at a distance from the handler, which I don't know that there's anybody else that actually has that as titling classes. I know some have them as fun classes. And then we have the dasher program, which is our new one, which everything is set up in specific layouts instead of random. And there's 2 or 3 choices based on the level that the judges can set everything. Right. And the times are a lot shorter than what the regular classes are. So
yeah, I haven't played that one yet. I need to have a trial with that in.
So yeah, everybody's actually doing better. Well, they're doing probably what I thought, because the Q rate's pretty high in that class. I wasn't sure it would be, but it has been, because people kept telling me I was setting the times too short. They kept going, that's not enough time. It really should be longer. You don't want to. But it's like, well, that's the idea here. It's for those, because we don't do placements in set program, which is different than most anybody else. And I think that also gives a lot more support to each other in a trial, because they're not competing against other dogs. And so this is kind of, I thought, could be a place for those that have the dogs that they go in, they find the scent in 7 seconds and they're done, to showcase those dogs. It would never be my dog, because mine takes, he waits till he hears 30 seconds and then he decides to find something. But, that's his cue. That's like, oh, maybe I should look, Some days, some days I'm pretty sure that's what he does. But, yeah, so this was kind of intended that you should have a fast dog if you wanted to play in it, or don't be frustrated that, you're on there and it's too short. But either the people that enter it always have really fast dogs, and right now it's people that have been playing in our stuff for a long time anyway. So, they've got experienced dogs.
Yeah.
And it starts at level 3 is what we call the beginning class, because you really want your dog to understand searching before you just throw them in and let them try to
go fast.
To just bust through. And when I was setting the times, I don't really have a training facility or anything remotely near me.
Right.
But I set it up after listening to what times people wanted me to have for it. I put it in, it ran between my kitchen and living room in the house, but because I think it must have been cold out. I don't know. And I thought, I'll run my dog, because he is not fast. No, hardly ever is he fast. And we could do it in 30 seconds of level 1, and we're under it. And they kept telling me I need to make it be 40 seconds. I go, there's no way it has to be 40 seconds. I go, if my slow dog could do it in 30. Granted, I knew where they were, but it didn't really make any difference, because, he knew or he didn't.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. We'll see how it goes after a year or 2, but who knows? Maybe the time will get tighter. I mean, the other times I'll have, because the program itself sent overall, times are getting faster and everywhere, because people are more experienced. They're learning better training ways to train for stuff. And so, the times have been reduced in Ranger and the regular detective a couple times, I think, since we started it. So,
yeah,
because people are just getting more knowledge about it.
Yeah. So I'm just going to mention, so your original detective program, you've got levels 1 through 4, and then you have 2 bonus ones. Do you want to tell us about the extra ones over 4?
Well,
because they're a little different.
Well, they are and they aren't, but I didn't want to make them be 5 and 6, because I wanted it to be, you got through 4, then you could enter either of these or any other classes we add after this. So once you get to 4, then you can just go in, not make it be, you have to go one at a time through here. And a lot of people hate that, and they hold out and they send me results and they say level 5, level 6. And I go, what class would that be?
Yeah.
They insist that they should be 5 and 6. But anyway.
But they're different. They're different skills. Like
well, they are but other venues do like the unknown number of hides. That's common in other venues for their scent. So the private investigator is searching for how many is really in there. You don't know.
Right.
There's 1 to 4 hides. And so that one, I mean, it's different because you don't know. But other than that, it's kind of the same. I don't think there's much else in there. And the detective
for the people.
Huh?
It's a mind game for the people.
Yeah, it is. I hate that, not knowing, because I don't have the trustworthy dog that I can go. Yeah, I'm sure, but we did okay in the AKC when I've entered theirs. It has that in the upper levels. It's like, I guess we can do this. But
yeah.
And I think I haven't entered it only a couple times, and I think I have 2 passes in PI because I don't have either of those titles yet. Because we have not went to many scent trials lately. He likes obedience better for some reason. Now he's really become obedience is his favorite. But anyway, and the other one is detective diversions. So it has diversions as our distractions.
Right.
So there are multiple distractions out there, and only they have 2 hides, or do you want me to look?
I think it's 2.
Yeah, that's what I think too. It doesn't have many hides. It has more
distractions.
Fake things out there. Yeah. More distractions out there to look for. Yeah. So, and I mean, I don't really trying to add new classes. You don't want to have them have 10 cents out there looking for it and try to have that many odors and places to put them. And so it's trying to find something new that you can do that doesn't involve, adding more or more time, or to have classes that you're giving them 6 minutes to do or something like that. Just try to find different skill sets.
Yeah. I'm enjoying all of the nosework stuff, all the new games. I haven't played them much lately just because of my health went sideways, but I'm getting back now. Playing with my dogs. So I'm like, I need to have more trials so I can play more. Yeah. I typically will hold a trial so I can play.
Yeah, I know. I used to do that too when I held trials all the time. It's like, okay, then I can play.
But I'm like, well, I don't know if you remember, but it was a couple of years ago. I was like, okay, I want the Master Team Award with my dog, Toby, because she's good at all the things. And so the Master Team, you need ace titles in 3 out of 4 of the sports, correct? So ace title is your original 4 cues plus an additional 10.
Correct.
So Toby, rock the nosework, no problem. Oh, and with your program, you can do level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, all Master Team. So I just wanted level 1 because we suck at obedience. So I held a trial for myself and one other person so we could run the 2 dogs through all the obedience. Yes, so we managed to get my 2 dogs, and I think one of hers as well. We're both judges, so we judge each other. And some we sent in as well. So to get the Master Team. So she had the first Master Team in Canada, I believe, and I had the second.
Yep.
And now everybody's like, ooh, that's a beautiful ribbon. What do I have to do?
Yeah. And now we have another similar to that for the scent that it's not called Master Team. What is that one? It's only for level 4 and level 5 for a scent achiever team. Cool. So if you get a ace in level 4 of the detective program, level 4 of the ranger, and level 4 of the dasher, then you can send that in and get a scent achiever team.
Cool. I might have to see it. Well, like I said, she's 15 and 2 months now. Honestly, I did not expect her to live this long. She is very hard on herself. But this last couple of weeks, we've been playing with some lost item stuff inside because it's been so cold. And that dog, 2 days you do something and it's a habit. We've done something at 10:30 in the morning, and yesterday she would not stop shrieking and barking. And I'm like, really? Are you ever calming down? Like, ever? So today she's locked downstairs and I can hear her going, are we doing something or what?
Are we doing something? I know my dog will sometimes, when we've been doing a couple days in a row, going down the basement and training and stuff, then he'll come the next day and he's staring at me if I'm here at the desk or something going, hey, prancing around. It's like, I know you don't want out. I'm pretty sure I know what you want.
Yes. And I'm like, I would really like to play with you every day, but sometimes I have to work too, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so the online programs, you can do the obedience and the rally at this point.
And the games.
And the games. Oh, yeah. Okay, cool.
I did not set the sun up for it. I don't know. I think there's enough opportunities for in person to do scent, and it's hard because the person knows where it is if they're setting their own, and it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, it's harder to make fair sort of for online, I think.
Yeah. But I just didn't feel we needed to do that.
Cool. So what am I missing? I feel like there was something else I was going to ask you.
Let's see.
We got all the programs. We got the online. We got league. That was the other thing I wanted to talk about. Was that something I think is unique to your organization as compared to any other ones that I've dealt with anyway? The league trials. So you want to tell us about that?
League trials are intended to be on like a night. Usually would do them one night a week instead of a class at night. And they can run 4 to 6 weeks. And then it's a trial. But instead of having a massive exercise or classes all on the weekend, you spread them out through, a few each night. And then the host, if they want, they can, instead of giving individual placements, if you're doing rally and those that have placements, obedience, you could wait and at the end, or even in setting those that don't have placements, you could do special awards and make it fun. Cool. I know when we first started, I had a couple that were doing them, really successfully. And they would do a potluck the last week and everybody brought stuff. It became more of a social event than a trial. They said it was more of everybody went to hang out and they just randomly ran their dog. It's kind of the secondary thing of coming. But they build a really loyal clientele doing that. But
I personally love them because a lot of times you and your dog, you don't have the stamina to do like an 8 or 10 hour day at a trial, right?
I know.
And being able to split that up, like come the nights you want to come, you don't have to come to everything. And it's way, way easier on, the host, I think, and the competitors.
Yeah, I think it is too. I have some that are doing them on weekends and they're running a full day. And I don't think that's necessarily the intent of that, was to have a full trial.
Right.
And the other issue with doing that on weekends, if they're doing them quite often, they're taking all the weekends up. And if there's other hosts in there,
right,
they're using them. So I'm thinking I'm going to have to set some guidelines for weekend leagues that they only get so many dates a year. But they can they serve a nice purpose, but they just need to be used for the right reason, kind of.
Yeah, definitely. Well, like the league that I'm doing over the next month, I'm like, okay, Rangers all one day, because the other ones I can do in my club building because it's smaller, and the Ranger you need the distance, so I only have to rent the hall one day to do
that works
Rangers. Yeah. So yeah, it's good overall.
Yeah.
And I have to say to anybody listening, like Shirley is great to work with if you want to host or judge or compete or whatever. Like I think I've been a member, well, at least since 2014, since you did send me
Yeah.
with my 2 dogs. Well, one dog to start, but now both of them. And I've judged and hosted over the years, and yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. And I mean, there isn't minimum requirements to be judges in any of the venues because everybody comes with different backgrounds and different experiences. So to set some random criteria to say, oh, you have to have done this, done that, titled it, it's like we look overall and there's tests, and for the performance ones, there's videos to score now too. So, it's just we look at the whole picture and see where we think you would fit.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I would recommend working with you guys if you're a new club, like you've been very friendly with new clubs getting started too, helping us get going in some of our smaller areas where I am. Like it's nice to be able to sort of get going with minimal admin headache and that are just used to doing it. I don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, so we don't require anybody's like a real club. A lot of these are just instructors that most have their own training building, but not all of them,
Right.
So, I mean, I started hosting trials way back before I knew anything for the Association of Pet Dog Trainers, just because I wanted to do it and, read what they had in their guide of how to hold trials. So that's why ours is kind of detailed and has a lot of information just for people who have never done a trial. I think it's pretty step by step of things to think about.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And yeah, the same with like the scent program. If you are a judge, like the regulations sort of what you need to do to set each thing are fairly specific. So that's nice as well. There's not a lot of leeway for, oh, this judge is doing something totally different for this level.
Well, they still do, but
Yeah. Within reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we try to, I mean, it's just hard, but as long as it's within the I want to say flavor, but within kind of our philosophy or whatever, understand what the goal is there.
Yeah. Yeah. Have fun with your dog.
Yeah, have fun with your dog. It's only a game.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you'll get some pretty ribbons if you do. Well, depending where you compete. We really like ribbons here, so ours are pretty nice.
Oh. Yeah, depending where you compete.
Yes. I asked my people, do you want smaller ribbons and cheaper entry fees or pay more and big ribbons? And they're like, big ribbons. I'm like, okay.
Okay. I know, because ribbons certainly aren't cheap anymore.
No. No.
That's for sure.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to tell us about WAGS?
I don't think so. I think we've talked about most of it.
I think we've covered a lot today. So, yeah, thank you so much for coming and talking. And like I said, nice to finally put a face to the name after so many years of emails.
I know, it was. I appreciate it. It was fairly painless here.
Well, that's good. I try because, like I said, I hate being on video too, and I don't think I'm great at doing this, but I like talking to people about dogs.
Yeah.
So, yes. So thank you for coming, and we will. Well, I'll be talking to you about my trial this weekend.
Okay.
Thank you.
All righty. Thank you.
Well, that's a wrap for today's episode of Dogs Made Easy podcast. We hope you picked up some valuable tips and feel inspired to try something new with your dog. Want to go further? Check out our Dogs Made Easy memberships for exclusive access to extended interviews, detailed training guides, and live Q&As with today's guests. Head over to dogsmadeeasy.ca and unlock even more ways to bond with your pup. Thanks for listening, and remember, with the right tools and knowledge, dogs really can be made easy. See you next time.